everything's good. Alright, guys. So I decided to go ahead and do it. So I figured the best way to start out the New York Jets Madden 24 rebuild is to get Joe Namath himself to come back and correct everything that has been wrong with the Jets. So that's what we're going to do today. I talked about yesterday how I was pretty confident that the New York Jets rebuild was going to be the next rebuild that I was going to do in Madden 24, and that is what we're doing. I've got everything already set up, but I wanted to show you the main screen just to let you guys know that I'm going to have Joe Namath as the owner of this. What's up, Watt? How you doing? It's good to see you join the stream. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and get started going into things. And here's what the approach that I'm going to take with the Jets. I mean, first of all, if everything is kind of the same. So what unfortunately I'm actually playing this offline right now, so I don't think I can add anybody. When I do these rebuilds, I mostly just do them like offline, just so I can kind of go at my own pace, because that's what I like to do in Madden 24. I love to take terrible teams, rebuild them. That's what I do on this channel for the most part in terms of Madden 24 gameplay. So the biggest thing when it comes to the way that the Jets are right now is that this team had so much promise. Because, everything started and ended with Aaron Rodgers. Now, I actually didn't see him on the injury report, so is he healthy? I gotta check this. Hold on a second, guys. So is Rodgers not hurt? Can he play? So I don't know what happened, but apparently Rodgers is healthy to actually start. So that's kind of interesting. The premise of doing this rebuild was due to the fact that I thought Rodgers was, like in real life, done for the season, because pretty accurate, but he is a starter. But you know what? Let me say this. Even though Rodgers, unlike in real life, is, injured for the first year of his time with the Jets, we're obviously going to play him. Now, his overall is 83, which is not too great, but we do have a lot of other injuries. But here's the thing that I want to talk about when it comes to the real premise of rebuilding the Jets. I probably have only 2 seasons with Aaron Rodgers as my quarterback in order to get this team to win a Super Bowl. But it's not just that. We need to prepare this team for life with possibly out Aaron Rodgers even after this season, because who knows? If he plays the whole season and he does well, maybe he may retire, or he may retire the following season. So we'll kind of see how things go. And we're also in a pretty tough division. The Bills and the Dolphins are really good, and even though you insert Rodgers into the picture, I don't know how much that changes the landscape of who wins the AFC East. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about in terms of what could happen with this team this year. But I'm surprised that Aaron Rodgers is not on the injury report. Maybe they took him off because it's the end of the season for the Jets, and they wanted to give players a fair shot. But we're gonna roll with Aaron Rodgers as our starting quarterback in, of course, year 1. But the thing is that I feel like just getting Rodgers to be the quarterback of this team is not going to cut it. There's other changes that need to be made. Like, I'm going to look at the roster and kind of show you guys, other positions that I think need to be upgraded in the future, if you ask me. So, of course, we got Aaron Rodgers. I think I'm going to keep Zach Wilson for this season, but next season I may look to trade him, because 68 overall, he's not going to get better than that. Simeon is probably going to be gone after this year, as well as Rippon. I'm not going to keep any of those guys. Of course, we don't have, a Dalvin Cook anymore, although in real life, if, he was still on the team, I might want to keep him, but we got Breece Hall. Now, I like Breece Hall. He's a scheme-fit running back. He's a solid running back, and I definitely want to keep him as long as I can, because he's one of the better young backs in the league. We actually don't have a fullback, so I'm actually going to go out and sign one of those. We got a decent receiving core in Garrett Wilson, but everybody else really isn't too great. I mean, Randall Cobb has been in the league for 12 years, and he's probably going to retire after this season or next season. Who knows? Now, Allen Lazard, 76 overall. His rating is dipped more than what I would like, considering we got an 85 guy in Garrett Wilson. Xavier Gibson is a good young player who may eclipse Cobb and Lazard as a starter if I decide to not keep him around so much. Brownlee and Charles are our other guys. We still have a starting tight end in Tyler Conklin and CJ Uzomah. I do like both of those guys, but I feel like maybe those positions could be upgraded. But we'll see. Dwayne Brown has been in the league for 15 years. Okay, this is definitely going to be his last season. There's no way that he makes it through 2 seasons in this rebuild. So we're going to have to probably replace our left tackle. Carter Warren, 66 overall, not looking like too solid. I like Tomlinson, but 76, more to be desired there. Connor McGovern is, of course, still here. And, there's some young centers like, Tippmann looks pretty solid. But, McGovern is also hurt, and so is Vera Tucker. So we're having to rock out there with some lower-rated guys. And, there's going to be a lot of change this offseason. I like Beckton Sr., 75 overall. Billy Turner's still here, Austin DeCoulis, but we're going to need some, upgrades there. John Franklin Myers, defensive end, needs help too. I like Will McDonald IV out of Iowa State. I think I may want to make him the starter, but I wouldn't be opposed to bringing in somebody younger to do that. Now, Jermaine Johnson II, though, this is the guy who is kind of one of the main pillars of the defense, and I want to kind of build around him on that defensive side of the ball for the next few years out of Florida State. I like Bryce Huff, too, but Johnson is the main guy for that defense. And, of course, Quentin Williams, 4 years in the league. He's continuing to get a little bit better and better week by week. He's already up to a 94 overall. So I'm going to try to keep him as best as I can. Sherwood, more to be desired there. C.J. Mosley, I don't know how much longer he has here. I might keep him around for a couple more years, but if he regresses, then that might be it for him. Barnes is hurt, but I was probably going to move on from him anyway. Quincy Williams, 83. So we got a couple of solid linebackers. And corner-wise, we got Sauce and we got DJ Reed and Michael Carter II. I like the way that things look there. I like Bryce Hall as well, but I don't know how much longer he'll stick around. And we got a bunch of young guys that I don't really know too much about. But Sauce and DJ Reed are looking pretty good for starting out at corners. Whitehead could get up to an 80 overall this season, so I like him maybe sticking around. Chuck Clark, 79. Tony Adams. But, Clark's hurt. We still have Greg the Leg, and we got Thomas Morstead. So, overall, I still think there's some rebuilding to do with this Jets team, even if Aaron Rodgers is here for only 2 seasons. But we got a small little window here, in my opinion, with Rodgers. So we got to go, and we got to take advantage of this. So in the meantime, let's actually go ahead and go get a fullback because we don't have one. So I'm going to go ahead to the free agent pool and see if we can get the best fullback on the market and add that to our team because, like I mentioned, we don't have a fullback. And I think, you still need to get a fullback in Madden. I know they're devalued, but at the same time, you never know when you're going to need one. So I'm going to get the best fullback on the market, which is Janovich. I'm going to sign him to a 1-year deal, and he's going to be our starting fullback for this season. That'll probably help out with the running game and Breece Hall because Hall is definitely a guy that I think the offense can maybe be built around even more so than whoever we get at quarterback, and maybe just after Rodgers retires, if he does within the first 2 years, we can kind of get somebody to, just kind of make him be one of the focal points of the offense and just continue to build around him. In terms of the running game is concerned. But I think getting Janovich is going to help with the running game this year. Hopefully Breece Hall can get his way to 1,000 yards. And, another thing I'm actually going to do is because since we only have 2 running backs on the roster, I'm actually going to go out and going to go ahead and sign another halfback just to kind of fill up the roster a little bit and see who's out here. Let's see who's out here in terms of maybe somebody who can actually even help us. Fournette's there, but I'm going to sign Darrell Henderson Jr. To basically be our backup running back. I'm only signing him over Fournette because he fits our scheme, so I want to stick with him. So we're going to have Henderson come in to be our backup running back. I'm pretty sure the way that this makes it is that now he's going to be the backup guy behind Hall, and we're going to kind of rock with that to go into the 2023 season. And, I just did that so that way we can kind of have a little bit more of a filled out roster. Yeah, Henderson's automatically the backup. So I think that's going to help out a little bit. I mean, considering, the worst case, if Breece Hall gets injured, we got somebody to plug in to help out a little bit. And as far as the rest of the positions, I don't really think I need to do any upgrades anywhere else. I think offensive line depth, we're okay. We have 4 quarterbacks on the roster, so I think we're pretty stacked there. And, we've got cut days and all that stuff to get through with the roster, so we'll get to that when we get to the end of the preseason. So let's go ahead and kind of get through the first preseason of year 1 of the rebuild. Hope everybody's having a good Tuesday. Before I actually hopped on and did this live stream, I don't want to get too personal, but I had to take care of some personal business, which is a little bit unfortunate. I got charged on my credit card for something that I didn't purchase, and unfortunately now I got to go get a new one because they basically terminated that card. So it's a little bit unfortunate, especially because I got to go into work tomorrow, and it's going to take me It's going to take them 5 to 7 business days to send me a new credit card. So that's a little bit deflating and it's annoying, but I still have other methods to pay for stuff. So I'm just going to have to adjust a little bit and make some changes there. So unfortunately, I don't want to get personal on this channel. I never really do with my life, but that's a tad bit annoying that I have to, take care of that. And, yeah, so just an unfortunate thing to happen. Always check your credit card to make sure, be careful of scams out there, y'all, for real, because you never know who's out there looking for, something. So it looks like we got a new injury. John Franklin Myers is out for 17 weeks with a fractured hip. Wow, that must have been just a new one that he sustained. Myers, he could probably come back during the season because, yeah, we got so many guys already on IR that I'm actually going to not put Myers on IR because if we do, we can't play the rest of the season. And, but one thing we are going to do is we're actually going to go out and we're going to get a left end. Because I don't think I can afford to rock with, whoever we have as our, current starting left ends. Let me actually go look and see who now is our starter on the defensive end position. That's unfortunate. I mean, Myers is, a solid young guy, and for him to be hurt in the preseason is pretty bad. I'm assuming that that's the new injury that we have because everybody else who's injured is already on IR. So, not good. So, yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and we're actually gonna adjust this a little bit. Maybe we can just put Will McDonald in there at the left end spot. I like him, and we're gonna have Jermaine Johnson there. We're gonna put Huff back in there. We're going to have, these guys kind of be on their correct sides. So, 74 overall, Will McDonald IV, rookie out of Iowa State. Well, I mean, that could actually be a good thing. So, you know what? I'm actually not going to go out and get another left end. I'm going to let Will McDonald start practically the whole season. 74 overall, but if he gets enough reps and he gets plenty of playing time, that's usually how rookies can develop in this game. So I'm just going to let Will play the whole season and just play it out, really. And plus, if by some chance we make it to the playoffs, Franklin Myers can possibly come back. So we've actually won our first 2 preseason games, and, I guess Rodgers has played pretty well to start out his career in New York. And, we're 2-0. Let's see if we can go win, undefeated. Well, we can't, but it's okay. And we actually got some trade offers. Oh, man. People are trying to trade for Bryce Huff. Well, based on the fact that we have Johnson, I mean, we could actually... I'll look at these offers and see what they are. There's a lot of offers on the table here. But, let's see. Don't really know what we could use extra help with. We could use help at receiver. Bears are willing to give me Mooney and a left tackle and a left outside linebacker. But the Raiders are willing to do the same thing with Hunter Renfrow. We could use help at receiver due to the fact that Lazard is 70. We have a guy in the 80s, but yeah. I think what we really need to look is for a package where somebody is also including an offensive lineman. Like the Chiefs aren't including any picks, but they are including Tony. So you know what? We're actually going to take this offer and get Kadarius Toney and Niang. We got a backup right tackle, and we got a new receiver to help out. Now, Tony in real life, as you guys know, has been, synonymous with, making mistakes and being injured and all that kind of stuff. But maybe he can kind of come to the Jets and be a help for us in the receiving game. Because right now, he's already shot up to being the second receiver on the team in front of Lazard. And Tony also fits our scheme, so I like that. Now, he may be on the last year of his contract, so that may be a reason the Jets were looking to or the Chiefs, I should say, were looking to shop him. And also, we get another right tackle with, Lucas Niang, who also fits our scheme. 3 years out of TCU, 66 overall. We may lose Beckin soon. That'll give us some offensive line depth because more than likely Dwayne Brown may retire, so he may be somebody who can help with depth, so we don't have to worry about going all gung ho in the draft and signing and getting a bunch of guys to replace them. So yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and leave Tony at number 0 for right now because we got to get to cut day, and we're going to go ahead and take care of that. So trade accepted. We're going to go ahead and acknowledge that. Sometimes you start these games and you get trade offers, but sometimes you don't. And in doing so, we only lost a backup right end. I don't really think that's that big of a deal. And we were able to get some value to help our receiving core. So I think that was a pretty solid offer to take. All right, so in terms of quarterbacks, we're actually going to go ahead and cut Trevor Siemian. We don't need you anymore, and, we're going to do with that. We're actually going to keep ripping because I want to keep 3 quarterbacks if we can. And let's go to the receiving core now. Let's actually put Irvin Charles on the practice squad. And will that allow us to change Tony's number to 19? I don't know. If he has to rock number 0... we'll just leave that as is. Let's see. We got a bunch of tight ends. One of them is the long snapper, though, Hennessy. So I'm not going to mess with that. Centers. We got some extra centers here. Let's go ahead and put Newman on practice squad as well. Not a whole lot of players had to be cut, but that's fine. So let me actually go ahead and take care of something here. So let me actually go ahead and I should have just probably cut Charles so we can give Tony his number 19. Or can we do that from the menu? Let's see if we can. Because that guy's on our practice squad, so. Oh, I don't want to change him to a tight end. All right, so we can change him to number 19. Good. Perfect. Alrighty then. So we got Tony his number 19, so he's looking good, looking like normal. I don't know. This is a rebuild, but I'm open to, different offers and, change and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to rock with that. And Tony was a scheme fit guy. Now, Robert Saleh, I think, could use some upgrades if we can get some. 9 points is not enough to upgrade anybody, including the offensive coordinator or other coordinator position. So we're going to just go ahead and leave those 9 points for later. We did lose our final preseason game, but it is what it is. All right, so let's get into the regular season, and we'll choose the draft class, and we'll get going with the first year of the Jets rebuild. This season actually may be a little bit better because, like I mentioned, I didn't expect Aaron Rodgers to be available for the first year of the rebuild, but here he is. So we'll see. All right, let's go ahead and import a local file. I think maybe we could do that here. Let's go with 2024 draft. I'm just going to do this from now on. Cool, we've got everybody here. Caleb Williams, Drake May, Marvin Harrison Jr., we're good. Got everybody here and ready to go. if Rodgers retires at the end of the season, I may have to look at one of those guys, but we will see. I know I'm looking ahead already, but all I'm saying is that, technically in this particular timeline, Rodgers didn't get hurt. In this universe, Rodgers didn't get hurt, but who's to say he won't get hurt during some point of the season, and we're going to be struggling. So we are opening up against the Bills. Let's simulate to the middle of the season and see where we are at with the Jets. Is Aaron Rodgers going to make a big difference in this team being a 4-win team or whatever the real life record of the Jets was with Zach Wilson at quarterback? Or do we need to still make a whole lot of changes to both sides of the football to get the Jets to winning the AFC East and actually being a legitimate playoff and Super Bowl contender? The first season under Rodgers will probably tell us, because here's the thing. With Rodgers getting up there in age, I feel like that you need to surround him with enough talent so that he feels like he doesn't have to do it on his own, because he's getting older. And the reality is, Father Time is undefeated. So I feel like that in reality, Rodgers may, need as much help as he possibly can get in order to, in order to win it all. Hopefully, at the midpoint of the season, we're actually in decent shape. But hey, it's a rebuild for a reason. So if this first year doesn't go super well, then all right. So we're actually not in bad shape. We're 3-3 right now. So that's not too bad. And we've got a game coming up against the in-state New York Giants, in-town New York Giants. They're 2-5. Obviously, they don't have Daniel Jones available, and Breece Hall's up to an 85 overall, so that's pretty good for our running game. Gonna just do it with delegate decisions of staff. Let's take a look at who's on the table for new contracts. $38 million is not a whole lot of money, and Morstead is the top guy who's a free agent, and so is Zerline, but we're just going to get an entirely new special teams group. Henderson is a one-year rental. We brought him in to help just get, help out the running game a little bit with some depth. Chuck Clark, I think maybe somebody. Let's see if maybe I can bring back, most of the secondary. Not considering shorter deals at the moment. Okay, well, sounds like Clark really wants a big, hefty contract. But let's see about Whitehead. Exactly the offer. Okay, so cool. So we got Whitehead retained. Dwayne Brown, I think, is likely going to retire, so I'm not going to mess with him. Bacone Sr., it's kind of tempting, but I think we can actually get, a better guy in a free agency. McGovern, I don't think, is really interested in coming back, it looks like. Quentin Jefferson's a backup. Randall Cobb, I'm going to let him walk. He may retire, too. I don't know. I don't think we need to bring back Lawson. Bryce Hall, he can go. Yeah, we're going to probably let a good chunk of these guys hit the market. Iguaman, Red Raider, love you, but we're going to let you walk probably. But Ifedi, I may consider bringing back just for depth. And maybe Bradley Ane. I don't know. A lot of some decisions still need to be made. So hopefully we can get another crack at Chuck Clark after the week against the Giants. So we'll see. All right. See if we can get a win against the Giants and get over 500 this week. Well, Aaron Rodgers, it looks like, is making a little bit of a difference. Not a big difference, but still, being 3-3 is better than where the Jets were in real life last season. So, we'll see. Well, unfortunately, we lost by 2 and we're 3-4. So, even with Rodgers, this team still needs some, building. It still needs some, it still needs to, be rebuilt a little bit. All right, let's get back to see if we can get Chuck to sign. He doesn't want a shorter deal. He wants something that's a little bit more. So let's see about maybe a player-friendly deal. It's a 4-year deal. It's a little bit more. Good offer. Glad we got the deal done. Okay, so spend a little bit extra there, but you know what? To get Chuck Clark back, I think that's okay. We're bringing back our whole safety. I want to bring back this secondary because I think our defense is pretty solid. We just need to keep some of the core that we still have, and we'll be able to be okay, in my opinion. So, McGovern's interest really isn't up there, so we would basically have to offer him a pretty good amount of money to stick around. So I don't think it's really worth it to throw a whole lot of money at him. And I'm trying to be smarter than I was in the last rebuild I did with the Vikings, because after only a couple of off seasons, we had no money to spend. Like, we went into that third season over the cap, and it took us trading away our starting quarterback in order for us to get under the cap to be able to have any money to spend. So that wasn't a whole lot of fun. All right. So let's go ahead and see if we can get a win against the Chargers. They're 2-5, so I assume Justin Herbert's not playing anymore right now because he's injured. So maybe this will be a win. And it is. We win by 3 points. So we're winning these games. We're not winning them by a whole lot. I assume Rodgers is doing okay, but he's probably not being a major overhaul difference, you know. Up and down season. Well, considering consistency has escaped his team. Finally get into the playoffs. Yeah, because if Rodgers is healthy, this is a team that is either playoff bound or is on the fringe of making the playoffs. So, you know, that's our expectations right now, and that's kind of what I see for this team. All right. So we got a Week 10 matchup on the road against the Raiders. They're 4-5, so they pretty much have the same record as us. Let's see if we can get a win against Vegas. And we lose by 3, although it was a pretty close L. Few weekly awards. Let's see if we got any award winners this week. Sauce Gardner, 8 tackles, 2 interceptions. He won AFC Defensive Player of the Week. Good for him. Good for Sauce. All right, and we got a Week 11 matchup. We're going against the Bills again on the road, and this is going to be pretty tough. They're 7-3. Despite the fact that Rodgers has been healthy the whole season, we're still struggling to stay above 500. So, to me, that indicates that we still have some work to do to rebuild this team. So, it is still going to be considered a rebuild, despite the fact that Aaron Rodgers is healthy for the first year. And we get an upset win over the Bills, 28-24. So now we're 5-5. But unfortunately, because of the way the division is so tight this year, we're actually got the same record as the Patriots, who are 5-5, just like us. I guess Mac Jones is playing better, and we're last in the division right now. So even at 5-5, we're not in the cellar, but we are in the cellar. But man, we've still got work to do. Not really going to mess with any negotiations right now. Let's see if we can get a win against the Dolphins. This is another 7-3 team. Can we beat 2 winning teams in our division 2 weeks in a row and get above 500 for the first time this season? And we can. Now we're 6-5. So, but that's still not really helping us. I mean, the Bills are 8-4, so they're kind of running away with the division title right now, which means that we got to mount a whole bunch of victories in a row, I think, just to have a crack at the playoffs. But the reality is we could probably finish with a winning record and still not make the postseason due to the fact that the Bills and the Dolphins are that good in this division. So, you know, this is still an uphill climb. And let's take a look at the playoff picture and see if we're even in this. The Jets are nowhere to be found. We're nowhere to be found right now. Because I think the Patriots have the same record as us, and they're third in the division. Yeah, they are. So we gotta mountain to climb. And we're playing a 9-2 Falcons team this week. How come in the last two rebuilds, the Falcons are like really good? I don't know why. It's really strange. Maybe Ritter is a better Madden quarterback than real life quarterback. I don't know, because in real life the Falcons fired Arthur Smith and they changed up everything. And unfortunately, we dropped a game, and now we are firmly in last place in the division at 6-6. We lost by 14 points to the Falcons, a team that's probably a favorite to win the Super Bowl right now. We are playing a 4-8 Texans team, but right now things are not looking too spectacular for us in terms of making the playoffs. It's still an uphill battle. Definitely an uphill battle. But we get a win against the Texans to ease some of the stop the bleeding a little bit, but it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of the division. We're still last, and we're playing the best team in the division this week. The Dolphins have actually overtaken the Bills for the top seed in the AFC East. If we get an upset win this week against them, that may launch us back into the playoff picture, but that's a tall order. And we lost the first matchup we had to the Dolphins, so. You know, we're really struggling against teams in our division. And once again, that continues. We lose by 3 to the Dolphins. And despite the fact that we could still finish with a winning record this season, it looks like it won't be enough to make the playoffs. So I think the main difference with the way that the Jets are set up right now, at least for the way that the way the 2023 season has gone, is that despite the fact that Aaron Rodgers has been healthy for the whole season, which is what it seems like, this team still is struggling to get barely over 500. And, you know, I thought about this when Rodgers decided to go to the Jets. You know, he's getting up there in age, number one. He just really needed to get out of Green Bay. And, you know, just because you get an old quarterback who's a future Hall of Famer like Rodgers, that doesn't guarantee you're going to go all the way and win a Super Bowl. You know, it really doesn't. So, you know, you got to think about that. So we do have an injury with Michael Clemens, a backup left end. He's out for 1 week with a shoulder strain. But everybody else is out for a long time. A lot of these guys are on IR, so so none of them are coming back. Fortunately, one of them isn't Rodgers. All right, well, we've got a Week 16 matchup against Washington. They're 5-9. So they're not looking like world beaters. And overall-wise, we're actually about the same as them on paper. So let's see if this is a win against Washington. Like I do in every rebuild, I will play the last game of the regular season, playoffs or no playoffs, against the New England Patriots. The only hope I feel to give us a shot is if we overtake, here's the thing. We're winning games, but so are the Patriots. There's 3 teams that are 8-7 in the division right now. We got to hope that we can win the last 2 games, and that whatever teams are still fighting, basically got to hope that the Bills and Patriots lose the last 2 games and we win the last 2. So I think that's the only scenario I give us in making the postseason. But we'll see. Go ahead and upgrade Sherwood. And, let's see if we can get a win against the Browns. They're 5-10. Obviously, they don't have Deshaun Watson. They have Joe Flacco. So, therefore, don't worry about them. So, let's actually get to the negotiating screen again. And let's go to the kind of the end of the line. And some of these guys I'm going to bring back as backups. So you know what? Let me actually just see if Dwayne Brown wants to come back for 1 year. Not negotiating on the years. Okay, well, you know what? You're probably going to retire anyway, so Dwayne, we're probably just going to move on from you. Now, Beckham Sr. is actually tempted now for me to actually make a run at him and keep him around. But you know what? I think I want to save a little bit of money, even though his interest is up there. And I think I want to mess with guys who actually are interested in coming back and being a part of this team. Like this guy. Excited, okay. So we've got a backup right end. Young guy we can develop. Continue to develop, I should say. So we're not going to mess with Ane. Not going to mess with that tight end. Not going to mess with a third string right tackle. Because we're going to let McGovern walk, I'm going to bring back Hansen just so we have a center on the roster. Good. Well, he should be excited to sign because nobody's going to be offering him anything else, and we're just offering him a contract to stay back so we can still have depth at center so we don't have to get a bunch of new ones. And everybody else can go ahead and walk away. So that's what we're doing for our player contracts that are up, and we'll see what happens from there. Hopefully we can get a win against the Browns and keep our slim playoff hopes alive, and they're extremely slim. At least with Rodgers, the Jets are going to finish with a better record, playoffs or no playoffs. And we get a win against the Browns. And the Bills have now slipped to last in the AFC East. So, what I'm thinking, let me check out the new injury first before we get into the scenarios possibly here. So, Chaz Surratt is injured. And Darrell Henderson is out with a foot fracture for 3 weeks. So he's going to miss, if we make the playoffs, he's going to miss the first few games. But I think a scenario that is on the table is that the Patriots are, okay, so we actually are in the postseason as the 7th seed. So because of that, I'm actually not going to play that game and simulate this game. And hopefully we win it, and we don't stumble, and we make the playoffs. Well, maybe Rodgers does make a difference. Although, still. But you know what? Here's actually what I'm going to do. As much as I'm tempted to play with Aaron Rodgers, I'm actually going to simulate the playoffs as well. And we're going to get to the first off season, and we're going to see what dominoes fall. Does Rodgers retire? Do we have to get more players? We'll see. So we did make the post. So it looks like we actually didn't make the postseason because I decided to simulate and we finished 3rd in the division. The Patriots won. They beat us by 2. They're going to the playoffs. We're out of it. So unfortunate that happened. I should have played to give us a playoff shot, but you know what? It makes it more of a rebuild that way. Let me actually take a look at the stats and see how Rodgers did in his first season as a Jet. Because it looks like that he wasn't injured at all during the season. And he had a 4,000-yard season. That was definitely better than his 2022 season, his last with the Packers. 43 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. So Rodgers is still playing at the top of his game. Wilson only saw action and limited action. He had 1 for 7 for, he had 3 attempts, 1 completion, and 7 yards. So he barely played. Breece Hall had a 1,000-yard season on the ground, 11 TDs. Henderson chipped in with 4 TDs, even though he's injured the rest of the year, but it's fine. I guess Henderson being injured did hurt our running game in the final game, but still. Garrett Wilson had a 1,200-yard season, 16 touchdowns. Tony had 6, and he almost cracked the 1,000-yard barrier. So I think that trade paid off a little bit. Give us another weapon in the passing game. Conklin finished 2nd on the team in receiving touchdowns with 7. He had 600 yards, 4 TDs for Randall Cobb, 4 for Lazard, 3 for Hall. So Rodgers really spread the ball around this season. So I like the weapons that we have on offense. I don't think we really need to mess much with the offense for this rebuild, as long as we have Rodgers staying upright. Okay then. So despite the fact we didn't make the playoffs, this Jets team was way better. I mean, we finished the year 9-8. That's a winning record. So, with a healthy Rodgers, that paid a difference. But unfortunately, we just had the misfortune of being good this year when the Patriots and the Dolphins and even the Bills were also really good. This division was really competitive the whole season, which, is good for the league. But unfortunately for us, we're 3rd in the division, so we're on the outside looking in. Wasn't enough to make the postseason. It's a lot like the 2008 season. Even though Brady was hurt, the Patriots still had a shot at making the postseason until the Dolphins beat the Jets. So that's a scenario that we have to live with. All right, then. So let's go ahead and get into the offseason. Well, let's get through the rest of the actual season. We'll see if Rodgers actually makes the Pro Bowl. I wouldn't be surprised if he did with a 4,000-yard season. simulate to Pro Bowl week, and let's see who makes the who wins the conference championship games. All right, so let's take a look at the playoff bracket first and see kind of what happened during the season. So in the AFC, the Steelers beat the Ravens on the road. The Bengals beat the Dolphins on the road, but the Jaguars took care of business against the Patriots. So it was Bills who once again continue to pull upsets in the playoffs on the road. They go to Jacksonville and beat the Jaguars, and the Steelers beat the Chiefs. So it's Steelers-Bengals in the AFC title game, AFC North matchup. The Bengals won it. They're going to the Super Bowl, and look who is going to the Super Bowl on the NFC side. So it's a rematch of the Rams and the Bills from a couple of years ago. That's who's playing in the Super Bowl. NFC side, Cowboys beat the 49ers. The Rams beat the Cardinals. The Panthers beat the Packers. And the Panthers went on the road and upset the Cowboys at home. And the Rams beat the Falcons. So it was Panthers and Rams. And the Rams bulldozed over the Panthers 49-14. And they're going to the Super Bowl for the second time in 3 years. So how about that? All right. Well, that's the way things are shaping out there. Let's take a look at the Pro Bowl roster, and let me see if Rodgers made it. Aaron Rodgers did not make it. Let's see if we had any other Jets make it. Garrett Wilson made it. Quentin Williams made it. Okay, so we have 2 Jets there now. Sauce made it, so that's 3 Jets. All right, so it was Sauce. We also had Williams make it, and so did Garrett Wilson. Pretty good group of guys to make the Pro Bowl. Young guys we're depending on, so that's the way. So those are the Pro Bowlers for the Jets in year 1 of the rebuild. All right, let's get to Super Bowl week and let's see who wins it all, and we'll see who wins all the awards as well before we get into that. All right, let's check out the yearly awards. Let's see who won the awards this year. So the MVP goes to Dak Prescott. Coach of the Year, Arthur Smith of the Falcons. Man, it's crazy that the Falcons in these rebuilds have actually been pretty good. All right, so Offensive Player of the Year, Rashee Rice of the Chiefs. That's a little surprising. AFC, Garrett Wilson actually came in 5th, so that's pretty good. Defensive Player of the Year in the AFC, no Jets there. Offensive Rookie of the Year, no Jets there either. Defensive Rookie of the Year, Will McDonald came in 8th, so I guess it was okay to give him some playing time. Aaron Rodgers actually finishes as the 2nd best quarterback in the AFC, so that's encouraging. I mean, with a 4,000-yard season, it makes sense. Best running back, Breece Hall finished 7th. Best wide receiver, Garrett Wilson came in 3rd. Best offensive lineman, nobody there. Best defensive lineman, Quentin Williams finished 7th. Best linebacker, no Jets there. Best DB, Sauce Gardner finished 2nd. Best kicker, no sign of Greg Zuerlein. Okay, so no player for the Jets won any awards this year, but that's okay. Aaron Rodgers finished 2nd in the best for quarterback, running for quarterback in the AFC, so I don't think he's done yet. He may still have another year or 2 left in him, but we'll see. Because we're going to get through Super Bowl week, we're going to advance to the offseason, and we're going to see who retires. Because something tells me, I'm pretty confident that Dwayne Brown is probably going to be the one to retire, if I'm being honest. I'm pretty confident that's what's going to happen. Go ahead and upgrade our practice squad players that we still have. And let's go ahead and check out the season recap. It looks like the Rams beat the Bengals again to win their 3rd Super Bowl in franchise history. And the MVP was Michael Hawk of the Rams. I don't really know who that is. MVP Dak Prescott. Arthur Smith Coach of the Year. Offensive Player of the Year Rashee Rice. Defensive Player of the Year went to Max Crosby of the Raiders. Offensive Rookie of the Year Rashee Rice. So Rice picked up 2 awards this year. That's pretty good. And Defensive Rookie of the Year goes to Will Anderson from the Texans. All right. And that's the 2023 season. All right. So now let's get down to business, and let's see what shape the Jets are going to take to start out the offseason. Who's retiring, who's in, who's out. We'll see what we're looking like. All right, let's take a look at retirements. See who retired. Obviously, guys like Harrison Smith I'm familiar with from the Vikings rebuild. All right, Jets. So Dwayne Brown retired. I had a feeling that was coming, and so did Al Woods. Al Woods retired after 14 seasons. Well, Al was injured the whole season. He was mostly kind of buried on our bench, and we also have Quentin Williams, who's a young emerging defensive tackle. But the good news with looking at that screen, we get at least one more season with Aaron Rodgers. So we're going to kind of go, not completely all in, but we're going to upgrade a few positions and see, what we want to do. So because of that, we're definitely going to have extra money to spend. So let's go ahead and advance to the first stage of the offseason, and we're going to take a look at the roster and see what positions we need to fill and go for in free agency. We definitely are going to need to get a new kicker and punter for sure, but we'll worry about that in the second wave. First things first, let's take a look at our roster, and let's see who we could use some help, what positions we could use some help in. So quarterback, we're good. We still have Zach Wilson. We'll keep him as a backup for just one more season, then maybe we look to trade him. I still like Akmanika as a backup running back. We still have Hawkins, and we got Kennedy Brooks. So I think running back-wise, we're actually pretty good. We do need to get a new fullback because Janovich was only on a one-year deal. Tony is still going to be back. So is Lazard. And Randall Cobb, of course, is gone. But I don't think we really need to bring him back or worry about it because now that Tony is up to an 81 overall, that's really a major boost for our receiving core. And we still have, of course, Alan Lazard, and we still have Gibson. So receiver-wise, we're pretty good. And I think tight end, we're actually pretty good too. I don't think we need to do many upgrades on offense, but we do need a new left tackle. We could definitely look at offensive line in free agency and see if we want to pick anybody up. I think a right tackle is something we need to look at too, and maybe defensive end. A lot of players on our defense are looking pretty good, but we still could use some upgrades in certain areas. Probably left outside linebacker, and we could use some depth at right outside linebacker as well. And we do have Chuck, and we still have Whitehead, so safety's looking pretty good. I actually do have a kicker. He must have been a practice squad guy. So we actually do have a kicker. So we actually just need to go and worry about getting a punter. But we're going to just get players that we think are going to help fill some needs. We're not really going to spend a whole lot of money this offseason. We're just going to kind of take it casually. We're going to get a couple of players to see if they help. Oh, we can go get Tyron Smith. But that price is pretty steep. Let's see about other left tackles. Other than him, who's really good out here? A.J. Jackson. 74 overall, but it's obviously better. Let's see about a 2-year deal, see if that puts us in the running for him. We had like $37 million to work with, so that's not a whole lot. But that puts us ahead of the Cowboys, so that's pretty good in terms of negotiating there. So let me look at left end, potentially. No, there's nobody really good out here. Defensive tackle, we just could use some depth, Let's see if we can find the guy in the... I think Javon Kinlaw could be a solid depth piece. That's really all I look at him as. Just somebody to help, give us another defensive tackle. We can always draft... We're going to draft one, probably, to get more depth behind on the defensive line. Let's see about left outside linebackers, because we could use some upgrades there or some depth. Davian Clown is the top guy, but... he doesn't really fit our scheme, so I think it's kind of out of our range a little bit. So I'm actually not going to mess with him. But we do need some depth at right outside linebacker, so I'm going to look and see who's out here. DJ Wonham, 74 overall. Let's give him a 2-year deal. Have him come here, help out a little bit with depth. Still got some money to spend, so we're not running out of money just yet. Don't really need corner depth. Could use a backup free safety. I think Eric Murray could be a solid guy to bring in to back up Whitehead. Let's give him a 2-year deal. Is anybody else even offering him anything? Nope. It's probably a better offer than you can get with anybody else. Now, kicker, even though we have that one kicker on the roster, I still would not be opposed to going and getting somebody else, if I'm being honest. But, and, you know, Younghoe Koo is pretty solid at 79 overall. We're going to give him a 1-year deal to come in and be our new kicker for this year. And we also need a new punter. But, unfortunately, we've run out of negotiations that we could do here. Okay, so these are our players that we targeted in the first wave of free agency. We're not going big or going home. We're not going for any big names. We're going after Koo to be our new kicker. Javon Kinlaw for depth on the defensive line. Also going after DJ Wonnum to get some right outside linebacker depth. A.J. Jackson, looking at him to be our new starting left tackle. 74 overall, also fits the scheme. And Eric Murray for depth at free safety as well. So hopefully we can land all these guys. Hopefully A.J. doesn't try to drive up a bargain too much, if you know what I mean. So kind of see what happens. Let me just take a look at right tackle because Beckham Sr. is somebody that we didn't bring back. So I want to see what we're looking like at right tackle because I think we're still not looking too bad over there. Actually, we do need a new right tackle as well. We could use help there, but we can always draft one, and you know that may be the direction to go. May just have to go offensive line in the draft, which is okay if you ask me. So let's advance to the second stage of free agency and see. And, you know, there's still some right tackles out there that we could probably go after in the second wave as well. Because, you know, teams don't really go heavy after offensive linemen in the first wave of free agency anyway. Everybody goes for the 90 overall guys, the 80 overall guys to lock them in. All right, so let's see if we sign anybody in the first wave of free agency. And I'm also really targeting guys whose interest is actually up there, you know. So we got Kinlaw. We got Wonnum. We got Jackson. That's good. So we got our left tackle situation squared away. And Koo is still considering our offer, but nobody's really offered him anything else. So I think we're probably going to be able to get him. And Tyron Smith's going to the Lions. All right. So let's see. Right tackles. Josh Nijman. Pretty tempting, actually. Parrott fits our scheme, but Yijman is a 72 overall. Let's give him a 1-year deal to come in here. I'm thinking we may need to draft a right tackle if I'm being honest, but getting some guy like him to kind of be sort of a stopgap type of guy, I think will help out. Now we need a punter. We don't have one. So let's go out and get one of them. Corey Bajorez. Well, he's the top punter available, so a 3-year deal may be overpaying for a punter, but let's go ahead and give him a deal that he shouldn't be able to refuse. We're his only offer, so I don't think he's going to look at all of that. So these are the guys that we're still targeting, a new kicker and also Josh Nijman to be our new starting right tackle. We're going to kind of plug him in there. Let me actually go look and see if there's any other positions that I need some depth in. Maybe on defense, because offensively, even on the offensive line, I think we're still pretty solid there. But let me just double check. Let me just check myself and make sure that I'm not forgetting any position that we need to get help in, you know. So A.J. Jackson is our new starter there. That's looking good. I like Tomlinson. Tipman, you know, McGovern was rated higher, but Tipman I brought back, you know, because, you know, we need some help there. And that's why I brought back Hansen as well for depth at center on the offensive line. Tucker, we're going to get a new right tackle to go over Yang. Will McDonald. Johnson. Fidea Ojbana, yeah, he's going to be a good backup for Johnson over there on the defensive line. And we've got Kinlaw. We're probably also going to draft a defensive tackle for depth as well. We didn't see any good left outside linebackers. That could be another position that we could look to bring in as well. DJ Wonham did sign. Yeah, I think for free agency, that's it. I think everything else we can look at can be just about. I think everything else we can look for in the draft can be about a possible, offensive lineman or a defensive end that could start right away. There's a few out there, so we'll see. But let's go ahead and advance. We're not going to target any more free agents. We're pretty much done with free agency. Hopefully we can get Koo and we can get that punter and move on with the off season. Let's see. Did we get everybody? Let's see. So in stage 3 of 3, it's unlimited. So Bajurowicz is still considering our offer, but it looks like that we did sign Koo and we did get Nijman. So we've got our new starting right tackle and kicker. So that's good. But hopefully we can land that punter and we'll be done with the offseason. Let's kind of get to the final stages before the draft and see. We'll take a look at mock drafts as well and see what they're projecting us to do, and see if that'll kind of dictate what I want to do with this team. But we'll see. All right, so let's check out free agent and recap and make sure that we've got everybody that we wanted. So Bajurowicz did end up signing, but we're going to have to change that number, sir. You are not wearing number 12. That is the number of the current owner of the team who's trying to rebuild them into a contender. All right, let's check out mock draft number 5, and let's see what we're projected to do. I assume we're picking not very high because we had a good record. Whoa, okay, well, I mean, Rodgers may retire soon. Okay, if Drake May does slip, I would not be opposed to drafting him. But if we can't get him, we could draft Suamanya to get depth on the offensive line, or we can take Blake Fisher, who actually fits our scheme. Jerswan Newton and Leonard Taylor III are also solid guys, as well as Barrett Carter. Jeez. If Drake May slips, we'll do it. But if he doesn't, we're going to just look at sticking with players that we need at positions that we need. But we're going to kind of do an Aaron Rodgers on Aaron Rodgers if Drake is available. So let's see. Let's go ahead and get to draft week, and let's get this started. Start the draft. Here we go.
Now the Seattle Seahawks are on the clock.
Okay. So let's see who's out here. Wow, he dropped. All right. I wasn't planning on doing this, but on the chance that Rodgers retires after this season, we need a quarterback ready to take the reins. That's where Drake May comes in.
With the next selection,
it's rare that we can get a chance to draft a guy who's a top 5 talent that high. Drake May, welcome to the Jets. All right, but now we got to get to, but now we got to kind of stick with what we need. So let's see about maybe, that's 3 through 4. This is our 3rd round pick. Quinion Mitchell actually looks pretty good. But we're solid at corner. I don't think we need a corner. So we're actually going to take Rook or Hirono, a defensive tackle out of Clemson. Get some depth behind Quentin Williams. Continue to build up the defense.
New York Jets on the clock now.
Yeah, I don't think that was reaching too far. So now we're just going to worry about drafting guys that are going to fill up depth behind our roster. Cedric Johnson, left end. Let's take him. Speed rusher. Fits our scheme.
Next up, the Jets are on the clock.
All right, now we're in the 4th round. The offensive lineman looking pretty good. Left guard, Javion Cohen out of Miami. Let's actually take him. I don't know if he's a real player or not, but we'll find out. Just could use some offensive line depth. Develop some guys. We'll be picking until the 6th round. So we're doing some waiting.
The New York Jets are now on the clock.
All right, 6th round pick. You know, Quinion Mitchell has slipped, so we're going to take him in the 6th round. He fits our scheme, so you know what? We're going to hopefully get a steal of the draft in this guy. And now that is it. We have no 7th round pick. So that's going to do it for the draft. Hopefully we get more picks this year, but I wasn't really, wanting to go too crazy. But I think I just did go crazy by drafting Drake May with the 10th overall pick. Now the reason I did that is because, I don't know how much longer Aaron Rodgers is going to be able to play. This may be his last season. And my thinking is, we need to have a quarterback waiting in the wings because Zach Wilson is not the future of this franchise at all. It could be Drake May. Rodgers, I don't know how much longer he's going to play. So, just thinking about the future because this is a rebuild for a reason. But we also drafted Rook Ohararo out of Clemson, a defensive tackle. We need some depth behind Quentin Williams, so that's a solid pick there. And then we drafted Cedric Johnson out of Ole Miss. Javion Cohen, left guard, he was the highest rated offensive lineman still on the board. We were picking in the 4th round. So I say, you know what? I think it may be a good idea to go with him. Now, this Quinion Mitchell out of Toledo, cornerback. We didn't really need a corner, but he was the best rated guy on the board when I was picking in the 6th round, and he was projected to go in the 2 to the 3rd round. So he slipped, and that could be a steal of the draft for us. So that's why I felt it was worth taking him with our 6th round pick. And, hey, more cornerback depth is fine with me. You never know. We could get, injuries, and, if he develops into somebody, then he'll help out the secondary quite a bit. All right, well, let's see. What did Drake May wear? I think Drake wore number 10 at, yeah, he did. But that's Lazard's number. So he's going to wear 15 for right now. And, if Lazard, maybe we can actually change Lazard to 13. Somebody else wearing 13? Xavier Smith is wearing 13. Well, I don't think he'll be around for too much longer anyway, so. Actually, let's just change his jersey number. Let's change his number to something random. Let's change his number to 18, same as Cobb's. And let's give Lazard number 13 so he can give 10 to Drake. Same number he wore with the Packers. I mean, coming into the league, May's rated 72, and Rodgers is only at a 77. So I don't think Rodgers is going to improve any more than what he's at right now. And because of that, he may retire after this season, even if we win the whole thing. So hopefully this is the year that we can get Rodgers his Super Bowl ring, but I don't know. Drafting Drake May, I think, was something I just had to do. And, want to get a quarterback that's going to be ready to take over for Rodgers. Just thinking about the future a little bit, All right, so let's, we actually didn't get a fullback, so we're going to have to go out and sign one in the offseason, but that's okay. We can do that. Tackle, pretty good there. Javion Cohen, I don't know if he's a real player or not, but let's see. Javion Cohen. Okay, looks like he is a real player. Miami. He wore number 70, so he's going to keep his college number. Cedric Johnson out of Ole Miss. He's number 2. Well, we can't do that because of Zach Wilson. So Cedric, he's going to rock 90 for this season. Defensive tackle, Rook. Yeah, Rook. I'm pretty sure this is a real player. Or Horo. Number 33. Running backs. Okay, well, it looks like that nobody's wearing 33, so we should be able to give him that number. Starting out at a 70, that's pretty solid. If we can just continue to develop. They probably automatically gave him 96 because he's a defensive tackle, and I think the game just automatically puts somebody in the 90s if they're a defensive tackle. But nowadays, the way the National Football League works, you can choose any number, even as a defensive lineman, even if it's in the 30s or like 20s or something like that, like their college numbers, which I think is pretty good for the league. Makes players, more enthusiastic about playing football in the NFL. So Rook, we give him his college number. Well, Quinion Mitchell starts out as a 64 overall. But, I mean, the upside is there, and we took him in the 6th round, too, so I feel like that's value out of Toledo. So, I think that was an okay pick for us to do, just considering what we had. So, we're going to keep our backup kicker on the roster for now. We'll kind of let them duke it out in the preseason and see which one of them turns out to be the best kicker. All right, so let's go ahead and advance to the next season. Sorry I didn't get any gameplay in this first in the first edition of this rebuild. I wanted to kind of keep the suspense of the first season because we didn't make the playoffs, and I thought there was a chance we could have, but we didn't win that last game. So it is what it is. So going into year number 2, we still have Aaron Rodgers. He is still our quarterback, but at a 77 overall and getting up there in age, I don't know how much longer he'll play. That's where Drake May comes in. And, some of the receivers that we have are, I don't know how much longer guys like Lazard will be here. And I like the fact that we still have a young guy like Garrett Wilson who we can build around. But, hopefully this is a season where we can kind of break through with Rodgers and make the playoffs. And maybe by a sheer stroke of luck, we don't have all 4 teams in the division have winning records to make it much tougher to make the playoffs, even if you go 9-8. So hopefully this is a season that gives us a playoff appearance. It'll be Aaron Rodgers' first playoff appearance as a Jet. This 2024 season was the season I expected Rodgers to just play for the first time. So we're a little bit ahead of schedule, and we're a little bit better than I think we really could have been to start the year. So I'm excited for the future of the Jets. And next week, you guys will see how far we've come in the second season. So thank y'all for checking out the live stream. Shout out to Watt Williams, Lil Sheesty for your comments. I appreciate it. I know you guys were checking out the Minnesota Vikings rebuild as well. So thank y'all for the comments. Stay tuned. Monday next week I'll be back here with more of the New York Jets rebuild. And in the meantime, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Have a good rest of your Tuesday.